Pensive, empathetic, and full of admiration are the emotions that washed over me. After researching and learning about more than 100 Black public figures connected to a journey full of blood and tears to rediscover their true selves. Hello everyone, we are our Memory Vault, and this is the video 11 Black actresses who underwent gender transition. This greatly impacts how we view courage, sacrifice, and the desire to live true to one's inner self, and it might just leave you stunned. This video is perfect to play while you are resting, enjoying a meal with your family, or doing chores around the house. All the information in this video has been carefully researched and gathered from multiple sources. If there are any oversights, please leave a comment below to help our channel continue to grow. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell to receive updates on our latest videos. Now let us step right into our first figure. Laverne Cox. Opening our list today is Laverne Cox, a name that has made history in the cinematic capital of Hollywood. She is widely known and recognized by the world through prestigious nominations for her roles with complex psychological depth. On the red carpet, Laverne always appears with gorgeous beauty, confident demeanor, and the radiant smile of a winner. Yet in exchange for the pride she holds today, few know that she had to walk a long, dark path where societal prejudices and the turning backs of her own flesh and blood almost drowned a soul yearning to live authentically. Let us analyze the psychological struggle of a child born into a conservative environment. Growing up in a small town where gender norms were rigidly framed, Laverne early on realized the difference deep within herself. However, that difference became an invisible sentence, forcing her to face harsh ostracism from her peers. But what hurt her the most deeply did not come from outsiders, but from the very attitude of rejection from her mother. For a child to be held prisoner in their own home, stripped of the right to express their natural preferences, is an incredibly cruel mental suffocation. I deeply understand that ultimate loneliness, when the place that is supposed to be the most peaceful haven becomes the place that rejects us. A person easily falls into the deep pit of doubting their self-worth. Laverne's process of finding herself in New York was a life-or-death battle in both a literal and figurative sense. Facing economic pressures, she was forced to turn to unorthodox medical methods, leading to health incidents that directly threatened her life. Furthermore, betrayal in love, when her life partner could not overcome public pressure to stand by her side, left indelible scars. Yet what makes the greatness of Laverne Cox is the power of resilience. To audiences who have experienced rejection, her story is eloquent proof. The value of a person does not lie in how society views them, but lies in how much they dare to pay to protect their dignity. She not only survived, but also became a brilliantly shining lighthouse, guiding subsequent generations out of the darkness. Dominique Jackson. Standing in the 10th position is Dominique Jackson, an actress whose sharp beauty and authoritative aura have captivated audiences through hit television series. Every gaze, every lift of Dominique's chin on screen exudes the aura of royalty. She is the model of absolute confidence. But to forge that aura, life placed her on an anvil and struck down with countless hammers of tribulation. Dominique was born in Tobago, a place where traditional concepts are deeply ingrained and gender differences were viewed as a humiliation to the family lineage. Through the lens of analyzing the dual nature of family affection, the father's decision to kick his 15-year-old daughter out of the house is a wound indicative of the era. Caught between the line of having to hide her true self to be sheltered and being stripped of all rights to live authentically, Dominique was pushed under the harshest path of survival. A teenager having to wander on park benches facing hunger and the cold is a heartbreaking reality about society's lack of tolerance. I feel immense sorrow reflecting on those days. New York. The promised land of dreams was actually a fierce battlefield where Dominique had to gamble both her health and her personal safety, using highly risky medical therapies just to find her true physical form. Her psychological tragedy was pushed to its climax when she had to face injustice from the legal system and the shattering of a seemingly fulfilling marriage. When her husband could no longer endure the acts of public opinion and her biological mother still uttered cold words of rejection after years of separation, Dominique seemed to have been stripped of every spiritual anchor. However, to audiences who always value self-reliance, Dominique's rise is a beautiful, epic song. She personally picked up every shattered piece of her self-respect, building an empire of her own. Dominique Jackson proves that when family and society turn their backs, the only person who can save you is none other than yourself. The curse that Janet Mock had to endure was already an aching pain, but the tragedy of a flawless beauty having her illusions shattered amidst love right up next will leave us feeling even more lingering sorrow. Please continue to accompany us to uncover this heartbreaking hidden corner. T.S. Madison. Moving to the 9th position, we reflect on the life of T.S. Madison, a businesswoman, actress, and a media phenomenon with profound influence. She is known for her blunt personality, explosive demeanor, and unmistakable charm. Madison appears in the media as a woman who never knows fear, ready to face all gossip. However, that strength is not an innate gift. It is a shield forged from years of being hurt to the extreme when her most sacred beliefs were mercilessly trampled upon. Let us analyze the pain of someone stripped of their spiritual anchor. For many, the church is a place of salvation with open arms to shelter lost souls. Yet for Madison, it was the place that dealt her the heaviest psychological blow. Being publicly condemned and expelled from the religious community she was once attached to is a trauma cut to the very roots. I deeply empathize with this instability. When the light of faith is obscured by human prejudice, one can very easily fall into doubting their own existence. Following that were mounting economic difficulties, forcing her to make humiliating choices for a livelihood just to pay for the journey to find herself, leading to medical incidents that left lingering after effects. Fame in cyberspace brought Madison glory, but also came with invisible knives from public hatred. Psychological incidents when facing verbal violence and the turning back of her life partner once pushed her into a deep pit of despair, thinking of giving up on life. For you, the audience who have experienced the feeling of being pushed to the wall, T.S. Madison's story is a costly lesson about the power of transformation. Instead of letting prejudice destroy her, she used the most edgy authenticity itself to create an empire. Madison did not only fight for herself, she opened a grand path using her voice to protect faiths still struggling in the dark. Hayley Sahar. In the 8th position is Hayley Sahar, a multi-talented artist shining brilliantly through hit television works. Hayley carries a soft, ethereal beauty and graceful dance steps capable of swaying every gaze. Looking at her on stage, one sees a sense of peace and wholeness. Yet to exchange for that wholeness, Hayley's soul had to go through violent earthquakes right from when she was a child. Born into a family with an incredibly strict minister, Father Hayley's presence, someone carrying a female soul in a male body, was viewed as a mistake that needed to be cured at all costs. Through the lens of analyzing dogmatic pressure efforts to use religious rituals to change a child's natural identity are an incredibly deep form of mental abuse. Being forced to give up herself made Hayley realize that she could not exist in the house where she grew up. She decided to leave, seeking out the artistic dance community in Los Angeles, hoping to find a second family where people like her welcomed each other with open arms. Yet I am deeply saddened to realize that even in the place that seemed most tolerant, she still encountered injustice and favoritism, being marginalized simply because underlying prejudices still existed. This double rejection pushed Hayley into a terrifyingly quiet loneliness and utter confusion. Her medical journey to perfect herself was also a path paved with sharp thorns, as unsafe cosmetic interventions left complications, forcing her to face death multiple times. Along with that was the betrayal of the man she loved when he used the most derogatory words to reject her. To audiences who always cherish the value of self-reliance, the life of Hayley Sahar is a beautiful testament to self-respect. Rising above the fractures of trust, Hayley healed herself, stepped onto the podium of glory herself. She taught us that when no one hands you a crown, you must forge it yourself, using your own resilience and unconditional self-love. Angelica Ross. Stepping into the 7th position, we pause before the journey of Angelica Ross, a talented actress and an outstanding businesswoman who has shattered countless barriers in the cinematic capital. Audiences remember her through roles full of weight, exuding intelligence, grit, and an unyielding bravery. On screen, she is a warrior. But in real life, to forge that spirit of steel, Angelica had to go through internal battles and the cruelest ostracization from her very own blood relatives. Through the lens of analyzing the pressure of a mold-fitting education, being born into a family with a father who served in the military was a massively huge challenge for a free soul. When golden standards of masculinity were rigidly imposed, Angelica's presence became a failure in the eyes of her parents. The decision to reject and push a 17-year-old teenager out the door is a wound indicative of the era. I feel immense sorrow imagining the scene of a tender soul having to wander through borrowed porches, facing the precariousness of a homeless life. The collapse of faith once pushed her to the very bottom of depression, causing her to let go of consciousness, escaping reality with sedatives to seek a hopeless way out. The harshness did not stop there. When stepping out into society, she continued to encounter the coldness of the legal system when being denied the right to a justified name change. Even when she had one foot in the art world, she still had to endure the ultimate insults to her dignity, as those holding power demanded she shed her self-respect in exchange for an acting opportunity. However, what makes the greatness of Angelica Ross is her proud refusal. To audiences who always uphold self-respect, her life is a beautiful manifesto. No one, no system has the right to price your character. Angelica single-handedly extinguished the prejudices, stepped up from the darkness to become a brilliantly shining torch, illuminating the path for countless lives yearning to live true to themselves. The pride of Majay Rodriguez lit up the Hollywood night, but the moment a wild rose resurrected from the abyss of life and death in the #1 position right up next is truly a miracle. Do not take your eyes off the screen, because the most soul-stirring story is still waiting ahead. Precious Ebony. In the 6th position is Precious Ebony, a highly powerful vocalist and a tireless social activist for the rights of marginalized communities. You, the audience, might feel incredibly familiar with the poignant gospel sounds where people send their prayers for peace. Precious also grew up in such a space where the church choir was the cradle nurturing her musical talent. Yet for those carrying gender differences, the sanctuary sometimes becomes the harshest place of judgment. Let us analyze the tragedy of spiritual exile. When the leaders of the religious community she always trusted publicly turned their backs, slapping the label of sin upon her. It was not just a physical abandonment, but a complete deprivation of her spiritual roots. Being stripped of the right to sing, the right to pray among familiar people, was a horrific psychological blow. That pain followed her out into society, where she continued to encounter deep stigma from the crowd. The physical traumas on stage in Atlanta were just the tip of the iceberg. The true wound lay in fear in the loss of faith in humanity. I empathize with her confusion when having to resort to sketchy medical methods, gambling her life in deprivation to live in her true physical form. The peak of impasse was when she encountered betrayal in love, leading to days sliding down into alcohol to anesthetize the pain of reality. To audiences who have experienced the collapse of faith, the rising journey of Precious Ebony is a story carrying the weight of rebirth. She realized that if society did not give her a place, she would create it herself. From someone rejected by the sanctuary, she turned her very life into a great hymn of resilience, using her voice and experiences to heal hearts that had also been rejected by the world. Janet Mock. Continuing the list is Janet Mock, a brilliant intellectual writer, screenwriter, and talented director. Janet represents the beauty of intellect calmness and the ability to use words as the sharpest weapon to change the mindset of society. Yet before she could use her pen to write inspiring works, she had to grit her teeth to overcome the saddest chapters of her own life. Right from her teenage years, school for Janet was not a place that gave wings to dreams, but an arena full of isolation and toxic prejudices. Through the lens of analyzing the dual nature of words, Janet's greatest tragedy did not come from outsiders, but from the very curses of her father. When a parent refuses the presence of their child, uttering cruel prophecies about a future without happiness, it is a deep cut into a child's subconscious. I am deeply moved by the moment she had to leave her family, embarking on a lonely pilgrimage to a distant country all the way in Asia, ignoring life-threatening medical risks just to find harmony between body and soul. This trade-off is massive. It reflects a desire to live authentically, so intense that it is ready to cross all boundaries of safety. Returning and striving to assert herself with literary talent, she again encountered the barriers of conservative publishing systems, and later the shattering of her marriage due to the inability to bear public pressure. The pain closed when efforts to reconcile with her biological father after years of separation only received a cold rejection through a closed door. To audiences who always value family, the story of Janet Mock is an unceasing, lingering sorrow about the limits of tolerance. However, Janet's greatness lies in this. Instead of collapsing before the curse from years ago, she used her intellect and resounding success to shatter it. She proved that happiness does not depend on the dispensation of others, but is determined by the value and dedication we bring to life. Amiyah Scott. In the fourth position, we look back at the life of Amiyah Scott, a model and actress possessing a gorgeous, flawless beauty. She is the model of allure, always attracting all eyes whenever she appears. Yet behind that glamorous shell is a soul full of broken pieces, a journey searching for recognition, traded with blood tears and even physical exhaustion. Similar to many figures on the list, Amiyah's childhood was overshadowed by her family's conservatism. Being held prisoner in her own home turned the place that should have been a warm nest into a suffocating cage, forcing her to choose to run away to find a way to live. Let us analyze the irony of beauty standards. Upon stepping into society, Amiyah yearned to belong to a community of people like her, but encountered a painful paradox, being rejected by that very community for not being feminine enough. The fact that a group of people already marginalized by society continued to create internal barriers is a tragedy of assimilation. The obsession with perfection to be accepted pushed Amiyah into medical methods so risky they caused kidney failure and a severe eating disorder that weakened her body to the point of requiring a long hospital stay. I can feel her despair, the despair of a person using their own health as a sacrificial lamb for society's invisible beauty standards. Amiyah's faith in people continued to be dealt a fatal blow when the man she loved, a well-known artist, out of fear of affecting his reputation publicly, denied his affections, even using her past name to humiliate her before the public. To audiences who have tasted the ungratefulness of human affection, the story of Amiyah Scott brings a deep empathy. Rising above words of rejection and betrayal, Amiyah stood up by herself, brushing off the mud to affirm a solid position in the entertainment industry. She taught us a core lesson. Beauty may fade, words of praise may be false, but self-respect and the mettle to master one's life will always shine the brightest. CeCe McDonald. Moving to the third position, we reflect on the story of CeCe McDonald, a woman known not only as an actress, but also as a great icon in the movement fighting for equal rights. CeCe's life is a film deeply imbued with critical realism, exposing the cruelest hidden corners of the justice system and society's indifference toward the vulnerable. Like so many other fates on this list, CeCe's childhood was stolen by the rejection of her own blood relatives. When her once closest older brother uttered words rejecting her because of her gender difference, CeCe's only spiritual anchor completely collapsed, pushing her into an isolated world without protective armor. Through the lens of analyzing systemic injustice, the fateful incident that happened to CeCe is one of the biggest scars in modern legal history. In the dark of night, pushed into a position of having to defend herself against unprovoked attacks from individuals heavily carrying prejudiced ideologies, CeCe tried to protect her own life. Yet instead of being shielded by the law as a victim, she was turned into the guilty one. A transgender woman being sentenced and forced to serve her sentence in a male detention facility is a psychologically destructive punishment. I am incredibly mournful facing this sentence. It not only stripped away her freedom, but was a complete denial of her identity and dignity, forcing her to live in extreme tension and fear for years. The consequences of the prison years left heavy psychological trauma, making her struggle to reintegrate into life. The pains continued to linger when she encountered medical barriers, and especially the irony from her mother's letter, a letter praying for her to return to normal instead of accepting her true self. To audiences who always value fairness, the journey of CeCe McDonald is a profound wake-up call. With extraordinary strength, she did not let the darkness of prison swallow her. CeCe stepped out of adversity, turning her own wounds into a representative voice for tens of thousands of other vulnerable people, proving that true justice does not lie in emotionless sentences, but lies in the courage to stand up and demand the right to live as a human being. MJ Rodriguez. In the second position is MJ Rodriguez, the woman who personally wrote history for the cinematic capital of Hollywood. Her becoming the first transgender actress to win a prestigious Golden Globe Award is a shocking milestone, shattering the wall of prejudice that had existed for an entire century in the film industry. With her role as a mother sheltering wandering lives in the series, Pose MJ touched the hearts of millions of global audiences. The halo radiating from her carries a warm, resilient beauty full of maternal love. Yet to step onto that brilliant podium of glory, her feet had to walk over countless broken pieces of bitterness from her youth. Let us analyze the conflict between love and control in a traditional family environment. Growing up in a family deeply steeped in conservative culture, MJ encountered fierce opposition from her own mother. Her mother, perhaps out of too much fear of the risks society would bring down upon a different child, chose to forbid and confiscate all items expressing her femininity. Being stripped of the freedom to express herself right in her own home made MJ feel suffocated. I empathize with both of these perspectives. On one side is the fear of a mother. On the other is the burning desire to live authentically of a child. That desire was so great that the 17-year-old young girl had to secretly gamble her health with unsafe medical therapies, leading to severe depletion right in the middle of her school choir, a manifestation of a fierce erosion both physically and mentally. The coldness of Hollywood in the early days of her career, when she was rejected simply because her appearance did not meet rigid beauty standards, only deepened the scratches in her soul. To audiences who have experienced self-doubt regarding their abilities, the achievement of MJ Rodriguez is a beautifully magnificent epic of self-respect. She did not compromise, did not lower her value to fit into the molds of others. The Golden Globe Award she holds in her hands is not only a recognition of acting talent, but it is a laurel wreath for a warrior who persistently protected her identity. She is the most radiant moon, proving to the world that when you live authentically to the very end, the world will have to bow its head and acknowledge you. Indya Moore. Closing the list at the number 1 position is Indya Moore, an international model and an actress possessing an ethereal, dreamy beauty. Indya possesses a unique aura, deep eyes containing a whole sky of untold thoughts. Looking at Indya's powerful strides on prestigious fashion runways or glamour on magazine covers, it is hard to imagine that the person possessing that beauty was once a wandering child pushed out the front door at the age of 14, an age where anyone should be nurtured in the arms of their parents. Through the lens of analyzing the weight of social standards, Indya's life is a series of harsh trials aimed at crushing the self-respect of a human being. Becoming homeless, facing cruel, chasing away on the streets are haunting experiences. Stepping into the fashion industry, an industry that honors beauty but is incredibly artificial, Indya continued to become a victim of highly discriminatory rejections. Having to starve to the point of depletion to force the body to conform to absurd measurements, combined with using underground medical therapies leading to life-threatening complications, is a sorrowful indictment of the toxicity of the beauty industry. The pain reached its peak when a deep romance broke apart simply because Indya could not meet the biological expectations of a traditional family. The moment Indya stood at the boundary between life and death on a bridge in the Bronx, yearning to let go of all pain, was the quietest and most choking moment. But the holding back by a stranger created a miracle of rebirth. To audiences who always believe in the value of life, the revival journey of Indya Moore is a soul-stirring message. Overcoming the line of despair, Indya decided to return not only to live for herself, but to become a shield protecting other vulnerable people. The wild rose, named Indya Moore, grew from the darkest layers of mud, radiating a proud and immortal scent. Indya's brilliant presence today is the most ironclad answer to those who once rejected her, affirming that authenticity always carries a great power enough to light up an entire era. Closing the video, we hope you have had moments of deep reflection on the value of courage and the desire to live true to oneself, rising above all barriers. Wishing you always a truly relaxing, peaceful, and warm time with your beloved family. If you found this video meaningful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to continue accompanying our memory vault. Goodbye and see you again.